Good evening, listeners, and welcome back to the archive. Settle in, turn down the lights. The tale I have for you tonight is one that crawls under the skin and makes a home there. I am Mr. Keeper, and it is my solemn duty to dust off these forgotten stories. Stories that remind us that the greatest horrors are not found in haunted castles or ancient crypts. No. Sometimes they are found in the mundane, in the quiet solitude of a new house, within the very walls that are meant to protect you. Tonight's story is about a man named Elias, a man who, like many of us, was simply looking for a place to call his own. He found one, or perhaps it found him. Elias was a man adrift. After a messy divorce and a job that had evaporated into thin air, his savings were dwindling faster than his hopes. He needed a fresh start, and that start came in the form of a 2-story fixer-upper on the edge of town. It was cheap, suspiciously cheap. The paint was peeling like sunburnt skin. The garden was a jungle of weeds, but the estate agent assured him it had good bones. He moved in on a grey Tuesday. The house was cold, filled with the faint, dusty smell of lives lived long ago. The first few nights were unsettlingly quiet. The silence was a heavy blanket, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator and the scuttling of what he hoped were mice. Then the thumping started. It was faint at first, a soft rhythmic pulse from within the bedroom wall, thump, 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 thump. He dismissed it as the house settling, old pipes groaning under pressure. But it was consistent, too consistent. It was there when he went to sleep, a soft lullaby of dread. It was there when he woke up. One night, lying in bed with his heart pounding from a nightmare he couldn't recall, he noticed it. The thumping in the wall was perfectly in sync with the frantic beat in his own chest. Thump, 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 thump. When his heart rate slowed, the thumping slowed with it. When he held his breath, heart fluttering with anxiety, the pulse in the wall fluttered right alongside. It wasn't the house settling, it was mocking him, mimicking him. Sleep became a luxury he could no longer afford. He needed to know what it was. An old memory from his childhood, watching his father, a doctor, listen to his chest, sparked an idea. The next day, he bought a cheap stethoscope from a pharmacy. That night, with trembling hands, he placed the cold metal diaphragm against the floral wallpaper of the bedroom wall. He didn't hear pipes. He didn't hear the groan of wood or the rush of water. He heard breathing, a dry, shallow, raspy breath, like dead leaves skittering across pavement. It was slow, patient, and beneath it, the steady, rhythmic thumping of a heart. Then came the whisper. It was a sibilant hiss that coiled through the stethoscope and directly into his brain. It whispered a sequence of 9 numbers he knew intimately, his social security number, and the voice, dear God, the voice was a perfect gravelly imitation of his father, who had been dead for 10 years. Panic, raw and absolute, seized him. He tore the stethoscope from his ears and scrambled for the toolbox in the hall. He returned with a hammer, his knuckles white around the handle. He swung. The first hit made a dull thud, cracking the wallpaper. The second strike broke through the plaster, sending up a cloud of white dust. But what lay beneath was not wood lath or insulation. It was a smooth yellowish-white surface, fibrous and hard. It looked organic. It looked like bone. He struck it again and again, the hammer blows echoing the frantic thumping of his own heart. A crack appeared, then another. With a final desperate heave, a piece broke away, revealing not the inside of a wall, but a deep, dark, fleshy cavity. Tucked inside the strange, wet darkness was a small, tightly rolled tube of parchment, sealed with blackened wax. It was old, ancient. His hands shook as he broke the seal and carefully unrolled it. It was a crude, hand-drawn map of the house, with frantic notes scribbled in the margins. But it was the largest script, written in a shaky, desperate hand at the bottom, that made the blood freeze in his veins. It read, "Do not look at your reflection in the windows after 3 a.m. He is practicing being you." A cold dread washed over him, a primal fear that transcended logic. His eyes darted to the digital alarm clock on his nightstand. The red numbers glowed malevolently in the dark. 2:59 a.m. The world seemed to hold its breath. The seconds stretched into an eternity. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to block out the world, trying to make it to 3:01 without seeing anything. He could hear the faint hum of electronics from the kitchen downstairs. The clock on the microwave. When he felt enough time had passed, he slowly opened his eyes. His gaze fell across the room, carefully avoiding the large bedroom window. He stood up, legs unsteady, and made his way out of the room, down the stairs. And then he made his mistake. He glanced at the microwave. The clock read 3:01 a.m. And in the dark, reflective glass, he saw himself standing in the kitchen. Except it wasn't him. The reflection was too still. Its smile was too wide, filled with too many teeth. As Elias watched, paralyzed with terror, the reflection raised a hand to its own face. A thin, dark line appeared down the center of its skin. From its forehead to its chin, a zipper. The reflection's smile widened further as it slowly, deliberately began to unzip its face. And in its other hand it held a stethoscope. Elias finally broke. A scream tore from his throat as he stumbled backward, scrambling up the stairs and throwing himself into the bathroom, slamming and locking the door. He collapsed against it, sobbing, listening. Silence. For a long moment there was nothing but the sound of his own ragged breathing. Then footsteps. Slow, calm, measured footsteps coming up the stairs. They stopped outside the bathroom door. He held his breath. The doorknob began to turn, slowly, deliberately. A voice spoke from the other side, a voice he knew better than his own. It was his voice, calm, reassuring, and utterly devoid of panic. "Don't worry, Elias," it said smoothly. "I'll take it from here." A house with good bones indeed. We build our homes to keep the world out, but what happens when the horror is already inside, when it wears your face and speaks with your voice? So, as you turn in for the night, listen closely to the sounds of your own home, and perhaps avoid your own reflection. After the witching hour, you never know who might be practicing. Join me again next time, if you dare, for another story from the archive. Good night.